Hello and welcome to Uzreport World News. My name is Barnona Zarzoda. Samarkand, one of the oldest inhabited cities in Central Asia, which prospered from its location on the Silk Road trade route between China and the Mediterranean, has become the first city in Uzbekistan to boost its urban sustainability planning by joining the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development's €3 billion flagship program, EBRD Green Cities. The cooperation is to contribute to Uzbekistan's goal of reaching carbon neutrality by 2050.
Samarkand has become the program's 48th member overall, formalized through the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding on June 7th. During the visit of the EBRD First Vice President, Jürgen Richter-Rink, to Uzbekistan. On joining the sustainability program, cities undertake a trigger project with EBRD finance. In Samarkand's case, this is expected to be an investment in electric buses and also draft a Green City Action Plan, setting out further actions to improve the local environment. Samarkand will now embark on developing a tailor-made GCAP to effectively address its environmental challenges, the bank said in a statement.
The European Union has allocated €11 million to support strategic reforms aimed at improving the agri-food sector and ensuring the livelihoods of the rural population in Uzbekistan. This is a third such transfer since the first quarter of 2020, bringing the total of the EU grant budget support to €32 million.
The disbursement of funds was accelerated last year in view of the COVID-19 pandemic to support the government efforts in sustaining the progress of key reforms and to support the resilience of the most vulnerable rural population. The agriculture, food and textile industry's employment potential is significant. It is not only key for women and youth for creating decent jobs and sustainable livelihoods, but also for ensuring food security and creating respectful food systems. EU remains keen to accompany the government reforms, in particular for developing a greener and sustainable agricultural sector, taking into consideration climate change. However, more focus is still needed to support the market inclusion and competitiveness of smallholder farmers, who comprise the majority of producers and deserve equal opportunities, said Charlotte Adrian, EU ambassador to Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan and Tajikistan have agreed to increase bilateral trade to $1 billion in the coming years, as Uzbekistan Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade Sardar Umirzakov met his Tajik counterparts in Dushanbe on June 5th. The parties have agreed to increase exports and launch joint ventures in the free economic zones of the two countries. In January-April 2021, the bilateral trade of Tajikistan and Uzbekistan grew by 40% against the same period of 2020 to reach $133 million. The sides have also agreed to hold the first Uzbek-Tajik business inter-regional forum in the Tajik city of Bokhtar. Meanwhile, the Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev is planning to visit neighboring Tajikistan on June 10-11. This was announced by the press secretary of the president, Sherzod Asadov, on Monday.
The President of the Republic of Uzbekistan will pay an official visit to Tajikistan on June 10th, 11th. Major negotiations will take place in Dushanbe on the first day of the visit, and a number of events are planned to be held in the city of Khujand on the second day of the official visit.
In a bid to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and boost electricity generating capacity, Uzbekistan rigorously heading towards nuclear power as low-carbon energy source. With the country's request, an International Atomic Energy Agency team of experts made suggestions to assist Uzbekistan to construct its first NPP within the Integrated Nuclear Infrastructure Review.
The team comprised of Brazilian and Bulgarian experts and 8 IAEA staff. During a 12-day mission, it reviewed the status of 19 nuclear infrastructure issues using the IAEA's milestones evaluation methodology, which provides detailed guidance across 3 main phases of development. Uzbekistan has made substantive progress in the development of its nuclear power infrastructure. Work remains to be completed on project-related studies, environmental assessment procedures, stakeholder engagement activities, and construction management capabilities, said team leader Milko Kovachev, head of the IAEA's Nuclear Infrastructure Development Section. The Director General of the Uzatom Agency, Mirza Mahmudov Jorabek, said the INIR mission will help the Republic of Uzbekistan Uzbekistan to ensure the safe development of a national nuclear program. Develop an action plan which in turn will contribute to the development of the related infrastructure. In 2017, the country signed an intergovernmental agreement with the Russian Federation to construct two VVER 1200 pressurized water reactors to be commissioned by 2030. In 2019, Uzbekistan initiated the process to select a site for its first nuclear power plant.
The national team of Uzbekistan won 8 gold medals and made it to the top at the 6th World Hand-to-Hand Fighting Championship that took place in Tashkent's Yunusobod Sports Complex on June 5th and 7th, the National Olympic Committee reports. Uzbek athletes are now holders of 11 silver and 11 bronze medals. Russia is placed first, with Kazakhstan closing the top 3. The high-level event attracted over 200 fighters from more than 30 countries. Uzbek ambassador to the United States and Canada, Javlon Vahabov, held a meeting with Associate Vice Chancellor for Academic and Global Affairs, Health Sciences at the University of Pittsburgh, Dr. Margaret MacDonald, the Director of International Medical Education Programs, Michael Elnicki, and the Assistant Dean for Academic Affairs, Salim Khan, to discuss further steps aimed at expanding bilateral inter-academic cooperation. Earlier, Dr. Margaret MacDonald paid a visit to Uzbekistan to establish cooperation agreements with the Tashkent Medical Academy as well as the Samarkand State Medical Institute. The partnership would help advance educational programs, conduct joint scientific research, as well as publish joint scientific articles. Michael Elnicki expressed his willingness to organize a series of up to 10 lectures on certain medical topics in English for Uzbek higher education students. Andijan ice cream has recently become one of the most popular treats of Tashkent residents, yet knowing nothing about the brand's origin. With this in mind, early in May, the representatives of Andijan's regional office of the Agency on Intellectual Property held a meeting with the brand's founder, Hikmatullah Madrahimov, to discuss the importance of registering the trademark that would further prevent counterfeit products in the market. As the result of negotiations, the entrepreneur applied to register the brand and expand its business. At the same time, inspection authorities started investigating the product. Uzbekistan's capital, Tashkent, reported then more than a ton of ice cream in 132 carts were declared unfit. They declared that the products contained Escherichia coli and Staphylococcus aureus. Besides, most of the vendors had only copies of Andijan ice cream sales licenses. This fact raises a new question, whether the unfit ice cream was the product of the registered brand or counterfeit goods. Tashkent Region's Department of Internal Affairs reported on the results of crime prevention activities carried out recently. So far, inspectors have detained 27 previously wanted citizens and found 4 previously missing persons. According to the press service of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, some 1,000 people addicted to alcohol were forcibly placed to treatment and preventive care establishments to ensure a healthy environment in districts. Besides, the department registered 16 violations on the use of hunting and firearms. The measures helped reduce the rate of crimes. However, in some areas, the crime rate soared and in most cases remained stable. Uzbek citizens will soon be able to get greenhouses free of charge, as President Shavkat Mirziyoyev has ordered to involve public-private partnership into the construction of housing and greenhouse complexes. A corresponding document was signed on Monday. The total cost of houses is set to comprise around $88,000, with the 4-room construction being valued at $30,000. The rest of the money is to be spent on the construction of greenhouse laid at 11 hectares, while the total area of the complex would exceed 20 hectares. These complexes are to be erected at land plots with low yield. Turkish Airlines has landed its plane to Ferganah's runway for the first time on Tuesday. The board with 165 passengers were welcomed with flowers and red ribbons. The return flight carried 137 people. Flights on the Ferganah-Istanbul route operate on Tuesdays and Fridays. Turkish Airlines received permission to operate flights on April 15, 2021.
Burned out homes and debris are what little is left of the village of Solon in North Burkina Faso. At least 132 people, including several children, were killed in a violent village raid over the weekend. Another 40 were wounded in one of the country's worst militant attacks in recent years. Prime Minister Christophe Joseph Marie Dabire spoke with survivors at a nearby hospital on Monday and visited Solon himself. There he condemned the rise of, quote, terrorist extremist groups.
Security is the government's responsibility. It's the responsibility of security and defense forces, but it's also the responsibility of the entire population. People need to commit to working with us so recruitment of our young people by extremist groups stops.
No group has claimed responsibility for the raid yet. The country declared a 72-hour national mourning period in the wake of the attack. Jihadist attacks linked to al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have been on the rise in West Africa this year. That's despite the presence of thousands of UN peacekeepers. The Sahel region, including Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, has been hit hardest by the violence. In just over 2 years, more than 1 million people have been displaced in Burkina Faso, where some 20,000 refugees from neighboring Mali also reside.
A Canadian family in London, Ontario, was killed in an anti-Muslim hate crime, according to police on Monday. Witnesses say suspected attacker, 20-year-old Nathaniel Veltman, struck 5 members of the family with his black pickup truck on Sunday and sped off. Local police chief Stephen Williams told reporters that the act was motivated by hate.
The victims of this horrific incident were targeted. We believe the victims were targeted because of their Islamic faith.
The London Free Press reported that among those killed were a 15-year-old girl, both of her parents and her grandmother. Her 9-year-old brother is in the hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Veltman was later arrested in a mall parking lot wearing a body armor-type vest, according to police. He is due in court on Thursday to face 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Meanwhile, police are weighing filing terrorism charges against him. Sunday's killings are the worst attack against Canadian Muslims since the Quebec City mosque shooting in 2017. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tweeted, "Islamophobia has no place in any of our communities. This hate is insidious and despicable, and it must stop." London has a large Muslim community, and Arabic is the city's second most spoken language after English.
Today, we turned the tables on Darkside.
The U.S. Justice Department announced on Monday that it recovered $2.3 million worth of Bitcoin paid by Colonial Pipeline to Darkside, the Russian-based ransomware group authorities blamed for the most disruptive cyber attack in the U.S. on record. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco.
After Colonial Pipeline's quick notification to law enforcement and pursuant to a seizure warrant issued by the United States District Court for the Northern District of California earlier today, the Department of Justice has found and recaptured the majority of the ransom Colonial paid to the Darkside network in the wake of last month's ransomware attack.
The FBI's Deputy Director, Paula Bate, said investigators successfully seized the criminal proceeds from a Bitcoin wallet, collecting 63.7 of the 75 Bitcoin Colonial paid to the hackers.
We identified a virtual currency wallet that the Darkside actors used to collect a payment from a victim. Using law enforcement authorities, victim funds were seized from that wallet, preventing Darkside actors from using them.
Colonial CEO said last month that his company paid a $4.4 million ransom in cryptocurrency to regain access to its systems and restore the country's largest pipeline. The ransomware attack caused a 6-day outage, leading to a spike in gas prices, panic buying, and fuel shortages across the U.S. Southeast. While the DOJ was able to recover more than 80% of the Bitcoin Colonial paid to Darkside, it was only worth slightly more than half of the full ransom as of Monday, due to the fall in Bitcoin's value in recent weeks.
Switzerland could become the first European country to ban artificial pesticides. On June the 13th, a referendum will take place, and backers hope it will trigger similar moves elsewhere. They want the country to ban the use of products made by agrochemical giants such as Swiss firm Syngenta and Germany's Bayer and BASF. Campaigners say artificial products cause serious health problems and reduce biodiversity. But manufacturers insist their pesticides are rigorously regulated and that crop yields would slump without them. Another vote on the same day aims to improve the quality of Switzerland's drinking water and food. It would stop direct subsidies to farmers who use artificial pesticides and antibiotics in livestock. If adopted, the proposals give farmers up to 10 years to make the transition and would allow Switzerland to become a leader in organic food and drink production. Roland Lenz is a Swiss winemaker.
Our drink water will sometime in the future, 20 or 30 years, be pure again. Our soil would be fertile again, and we would have less dependence on foreign countries.
The Clean Water Initiative also wants farmers to stop using imported animal feed and restrict the number of cows, pigs and chickens in Switzerland. The Swiss Farmers Union says many of its members feel their way of life is under siege. Dominic Harb runs a dairy farm outside Zurich.
Our production would go rapidly down. We won't have any Swiss chicken meat, we won't have any Swiss pig meat, and the result would be there would be much more import, much more food would come from outside countries into Switzerland.
The country has been divided by the unusually bitter debate over the initiatives, and according to recent polls, the votes look set to be close.
The Azul waves in Philippines' Batangas province should be crystal clear. Instead, they're now choked by plastic, another unwelcome side effect of the global health crisis. Samantha Arnold has been diving in the area for about 4 years and is now picking up trash on her expeditions.
The marine life has been able to take a break from us personally. However, they're getting inundated with a new source of trash, which is face masks, face shields, and the bunny suits that people are wearing.
Resort owner and diving instructor Camila Sevilla said the masks were adding to plastic bags, diapers and packaging materials that plague local waters during the monsoon season. While there is currently some separation of rubbish, she added that she thought there should be dedicated bins for pandemic-related trash.
We will still keep seeing that because they just get blown away, they fall out of the hands of people, and then oftentimes just really not disposed of properly, just like the plastic bags.
The Batangas Tourism Office said officials were aware of the issue and are spearheading clean-up drives. A 2021 report by scientific online publication Our World in Data said the majority of ocean plastics around the world originates from rivers and coastlines. Of that, 81% is from Asia, with a third of all Asian plastic coming from the Philippines alone.
The S&P 500 ended the session essentially flat Monday, just shy of a record high, as investors sat on the sidelines amid a lack of market-moving catalysts. The Dow slipped nearly 0.4%, while the Nasdaq added 0.5%. Bouquet Capital Partners Chief Investment Officer Kim Forrest.
We are rolling up to the beginning of yet another earnings earnings season. So I think we're going to kind of be dead in the water until then. We're just going to chop around here.
Shares of the multinational tech titans were mixed after the G7 economies agreed to back a global minimum corporate tax rate of at least 15%. Shares of Amazon dipped and Apple was flat, while Facebook and Alphabet rose. Biogen was the biggest gainer on the S&P, catapulting 38% higher. The Food and Drug Administration approved its drug as the first treatment to attack a likely cause of Alzheimer's disease. And small-cap stocks, including meme stocks, continue to attract outsized investor attention. AMC Entertainment gained almost 15%, and video game retailer GameStop jumped more than 12%.
And this was our last report. Thank you for watching and goodbye.